Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Monday.
And it is a
Oh,
Monday. Monday,
how
Monday,
is everybody
Monday.
today?
Hello, hello.
Good
Good. How
morning.
are you?
It's
Good
only
morning, Bill.
25 degrees outside.
Mhm.
What?
45?
It was 50 here this morning. It's 55.
25.
Where do you live? The moon?
Mhm.
No, Toledo, Ohio.
Mhm.
Close.
And we had 50. It was 50 when I got up. It's 56 now. It's going to 84 though.
Oh, 55. Excuse me, my mistake.
Oh, I was going to say 25. That's freezing weather. You know, a lot of crops freezing up in Ohio. If that was the case.
I've got 82 and feels like 83.
You're in Florida. You
86%
should have it.
humidity here today.
Well, there you go.
Low humidity day.
Just a fresh, brisk day
Yeah,
in this
my
Florida.
windows are completely sweating.
Yeah. We don't have that yet. We haven't had much humidity, but it'll get here as the summer moves forward. We're still in spring, we got another, 6 days till summer, technically.
Is it
Yeah.
that?
And that, next Sunday, the sun starts going down south again. So our days are getting shorter just to give you a little happiness there.
Already?
Yeah. June 21st. That's the equinox. Yep. Sucks. Anyway,
Wow.
I know. We just got here.
Yeah, I feel like it's still April.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I
110
got
Palm
30.
Springs, Brad says. New England, beautiful up in New England. All right, well, let me get started here. Well, what a difference a weekend makes. World peace is back. Well, at least, they got a memorandum of understanding they're going to sign next week. So the market's up. So last week was all about SpaceX at the end. It was a wild week. I put out a white paper on just, how the market just moved news wise last week. SpaceX came out, IPO, priced at 135, opened up at 150, finished up just below 20% for the day. Other companies in space industry didn't do as well. Rocket Lab was down 11%, LUNR down 13%. What else we got? Oh, Redwire down 11.5, Virgin Galactic down 31.8, Planet Labs down 8.8. And remember, IPOs don't create new money; they just redistribute existing capital. And it appears that a lot of money came out of those space companies and went into SpaceX. And I think it's up. Yeah, it says here up again. It was up 5 or 6%. I got to see. I was watching earlier this morning. Ron Barron was on CNBC, and he's the guy who runs that Ron Barron fund that I bought into, a month ago to get into the SpaceX IPO. And if I can find it, I'll put it on my Discord. The interview was pretty amazing, and it almost convinced me to potentially just keep my small position in his fund. But that was pretty amazing stuff. So I'll try to put that up. The U.S. Iran peace deal seems to be moving forward. Oil prices are down. Uh, Headline news, as you can see, has affected the price action of pre-market indices. Buy the news, sell the rumor seems to come to mind, but so does Yogi Berra. It ain't over till it's over. And again, this is not signed yet. It's not supposed to be signed till the end of this week. And then it's just a 60-day discussion period in between there. But the strait's supposed to open up. Even if it did, it's going to take. I saw an oil guy was on, and he was talking about could take a couple months before we even get back to semi-normal. Plus, there's a lot of destruction in the infrastructure over there, and so it's not going to be over by any chance. But with oil down to 80, I was going to go out and fill up the F-150 today. I'm sure we're back to $1.87 in that. Gold again up, and the happy news is interesting that gold is usually where you go for safe haven when there's things happening. And look how gold has gone up. So money's gone into gold and also crypto. Look at Bitcoin up 2,400 bucks, 66,200 Ethereum, Solana, Dogecoin, oil again down. They were saying catastrophically down, but it's 5-6% down. We're still not to the 60 to 65,000 when the this war started. So anyway, and in bonds will be down. Yep, definitely. I just say be careful, at the open. Again, because it's news. We've been a lot of driven by news. And the other thing that's kind of lost track is we'll have our first Fed meeting and press conference without Jerome Powell as the chairman, and it'll be nice to have someone new, maybe more refreshing than watching Powell state the same exact speech with a few words changed each and every month. Okay, what else I got here? Let's see. We got anything else going on here? Down here, SpaceX 6%. Okay. Elizabeth Warren wants to know if we're going to raise Social Security retirement age. And I just hope not until I get to that point, which I'm there, but I'm just not at full retirement age. So anyway, let me go. And now that we're kind of leveling out here a little bit, I'm going to go back to kind of talking about back into AI. I think once we get this war, if it goes right and we get the war going the right direction and we move off, we'll get back into the AI. And I think you're seeing some of that in the markets today as you see the NASDAQ up 615 points. I would almost say that it's probably a lot of the AI and everything kicking back up. So I wanted to go back to that theme in AI, and I want to go back to circular AI funding or circular financing. So again, circular AI funding is the financial flow where capital leaves, say, NVIDIA as an investment and returns to NVIDIA's hardware revenue. In these arrangements, NVIDIA invests billions of dollars, and I'm just picking on NVIDIA, but they're the biggest, in equity directly into AI startups, cloud providers, or large tech firms. These recipients who get this money then typically use those funds and more to purchase NVIDIA's graphic processing GPUs to build out these massive data centers. So this is how it works. So the hyperscalers in NVIDIA sign leases on or purchase commitments with suppliers. The hyperscalers are, the Mag system, the Mag 5, promising to buy chips, lease data center capacity, or take delivery of equipment over multi-year horizons. The suppliers' balance sheets, the companies building the data centers, the fabs, the power infrastructure, and taking on the debt to do so, and receive those commitments as a form of a revenue assurance. Banks and private credit then lend to those suppliers using the hyperscalers NVIDIA purchase commitments. I have a future commitment that they're going to purchase this and I'm going to get so much money, even though it's not there, as collateral or credit support for the loan flows back to the supplier who uses it to build the infrastructure that fulfills the original commitment. The key insight is the loop. A hyperscaler's promise to buy becomes the basis for a lender's willingness to finance a supplier's build out. Without the hyperscaler, and this is Meta, Microsoft, Google, Apple, not Apple, but Amazon, without the hyperscaler ever putting that promise on its own balance sheet as debt, and often without the lender's exposure being visible to the public markets either. So this matters because it provides us with an accounting gap. The structure works like this. Big tech firms like Meta and Oracle are utilizing special purposes vehicles, these SPVs, financing to keep billions of dollars of AI infrastructure borrowing, such as data centers, off their main balance sheets. This accounting choice involves using an external entity to raise debt and lease the infrastructures back to the tech group. This practice is legal, but is raising concerns among market watchers about complexity and hidden leverage, particularly if returns do not meet the massive spending. For example, Meta owns a 20% stake in an SPV and provided other investors with a residual value guarantee, meaning that the data center's value falls below a certain level and Meta decides not to renew the lease, Meta must repay the SPV investors. As UBS Credit Strategy had put it, SPV financing actually increases the tech company's outstanding liabilities, implying that the overall credit quality of these enterprises might be worse than the current model suggests. CapEx from the 5 largest hyperscalers is expected to reach $700 billion this year, about 2% of our GDP, and $4.7 trillion cumulative between 2025 and 2030. This disagreement is whether monetization, AI revenue, Starlink/cloud margins, enterprise AI adoption scales fast enough to justify, meaning provides a return on investment. If yes, these commitments are smart capital allocation. If no, the off-balance sheet structure means losses could surface in unexpected places, private credit funds, insurance company balance sheets, supplier bankruptcies, rather than cleanly on the hyperscaler's income statement where the investors are watching. So this isn't a reason to panic sell tech, but it's a reason to look deeper into those headline numbers. I have a really more detailed paper I'll put out after this after this Zoom call. That's going to really, I'm going to spend a little time this week talking about that and how it affects um, not only the hyperscalers and their balance sheets, but how it affects the whole infrastructure of AI going forward. So I think we need to really focus on all this money going into AI, all this debt that's piling up, and the potential of what could happen down in the future. Just as investors, we need to have that in the back of our mind. Not saying it's going to happen, but I'm just saying you got to have that so we don't get rug pulled. So that's what I got as a story today. Trent, do you have anything on top of what I just said?
No, I think that what you just went over is going to rise back to the top. I think, the cost of debt, the cost of service debt, we've talked about the rising yields on bonds and how loans are structured usually around those. I do think this is all going to come back into play again, into focus. Right now, it's been, SpaceX, been the war. If we settle the war, we get out of that, you see oil prices drop again. And I think markets will start to look again at the financials, the fundamentals of how all of this is being constructed. So that's where I think it's just, the news headlines is a rotation, merry-go-round,
Yep.
It just comes back around.
It's the same today. Nothing's changed. I mean, we don't even have a signed document and look at the market go. We could have Israel could start firing on Lebanon again, and it could all be over. Drones could be going over to Kuwait again. It's to have this much happiness on really nothing happening yet of material value is strange. Well, not unusual, but strange.
And I think it goes back to that whole algorithm-driven market in that it was drawn down pretty heavily over the last week or two, and all of a sudden it gets a pop through SpaceX, and now we're just riding that pop again. So I think eventually that settles out. Well, at some point we need to level out pricing. We need to address the level of debt these companies are taking on and how they're going to pay.
I'm going to go into more detail tomorrow on some of this. I worked on it this weekend, and just to give us an idea, it's nice to have these AI and be excited about AI, but at some point it needs to be paid for. And there's a lot of stuff. I worked in procurement for years that's happening in these deals that makes me scratch my head. Okay. And that I would never do or sign my name to, but it is what it is. And we'll go into more debt tomorrow. So debts, not debt. Where they're going into debt. I'm not going into debt. They're going into debt. So, all right, let's go look at what we got last week and how we ended the markets here. And again, SpaceX was the big deal. I mean, their 135 started, opened at 150. It was pretty amazing. It was, a lot of hype. And it's up a little bit today also on SpaceX. And then you've got, it was all very much dominated on SpaceX on the news. The small investors scramble to get in on the SpaceX IPO, even if some believe the valuation is stupid. And if you go look at the financials and you didn't know what it was other than just looking at the financials, you would agree that the valuation is pretty high right here on SpaceX. But Elon Musk is a pretty amazing guy, and a lot of people follow him. And long term, we could see what happens. Like I said, I'll try to find that Ron Barron interview that they had this morning on. It was about a half hour on CNBC, and he's pretty convincing. He's been a long time investor in Tesla and SpaceX, and a very interesting guy. So again, I'll try to put that up. Options value in space stocks boomed as investors look for any way to get long. So again, the theme I'm getting in these news things is there's just a lot of hype in here. Again, I didn't go buy any direct SpaceX anything. I had it through Ron Barron's fund a month ago, and you guys all know what that is. And we can go over it again. But again, at some point, I think we're gonna find the price level out on SpaceX to where it's supposed to be. And you probably, and again, there's probability it will get a better price than what we have right now, but there's still a lot of hype going on. Elizabeth Warren always gets involved, questions SpaceX IPO oversight and new letter to stock indexes. She's worried about them, which I don't understand because SpaceX actually let retail investors get 20 some percent of this, where most you only get 4 or 5%. And those are the real big customers of the small, of the brokers. So, and why she's worried about it, I guess it's because they're going to join the NASDAQ within 10 days. So that's another potential bump for SpaceX if they join the NASDAQ index in 10 days. A lot of those, every fund that follows the NASDAQ or the NASDAQ 100 is going to have to buy SpaceX. So I'm expecting probably another bump when that happens. Here is SpaceX. It was interesting on the daily chart how it kind of popped. And my chart got screwed up. My charts weren't working all that good. And it showed this 80 million volume trade off, and it dropped down, but it actually didn't really do that. But it looked like that. And so it gave me some pause in there, with this big drop. And I finally I rebooted it. And this is actually what happened. So I don't know what, and my system was slow on Friday when we were going over charts. But if you look at, here's where we closed. Okay. Here's where we opened, at 150 down in this area right here. Okay. 135 is way down here. That's where people got in at. So basically you look at it, got really hyped up. We got up pretty high, 170s, 180s. So if you bought above this line and it closed out where it did, all these people who bought above that line are now underwater on SpaceX, which said retailers don't really care. They just wanted to get in. And we'll see. Now, we had this trend at the end of the day. This is the 1 minute chart. So I can show you the whole day of SpaceX. And right there we closed and right under the 50-minute SMA. So today we're going to open up a little bit higher and we'll see if we continue this trend up. But, as the day, a lot of hype right out of the gate, up. We get into the noon time, we start to descend down as we kind of get, the people who bought in maybe are selling off, or the people who had the ability to sell off are selling off and making some money, which is not unusual. And then at the end of the day, right around the 160 level, they started coming back up. So interesting on SpaceX. Okay, here's our heat map. The markets were up. The Dow was up 353, NASDAQ up 79, S&P up 37, the advancers 55, the decliners 40. So still not seen huge on the breadth side. Under the 50, 47.5%. So we got 52% over the 50, which is still right there. Under the 200, we're still at over 50% under the 200. So our market is still, half of it is still kind of in a bearish mode. But you can see where we went. Everything but a lot of the tech, which is interesting. A lot of the big mag checks. Here's your 1 week performance. This is the week. You see Apple was down, Microsoft was down. A lot of the big hyperscalers were down. Of course, they're out spending all that money. And for the week, you saw the semiconductors and the guys who are getting the recipient of that money moving up. And you also saw money flowing out over the week throughout the rest of the index. Not by a bunch, but enough. Here's your NASDAQ 1 day performance. This was Friday. Okay, Intel, AMD, ARM, we see ASML, LRCX. We were looking at some of these equipment manufacturers last week, except for ASML, it still did well. And back into the semiconductors, and then of course the big guys are, the hyperscalers, the ones out spending money, are not doing all that well. We look at those charts, and when we go look at the 1 week chart again, you can see where the strength was in semiconductor equipment. Tesla got a bounce, of course, for the week with SpaceX, and then you've got your hyperscalers here in the down position. And this is the Dow Jones 30. It was up, but again, Apple and Amazon weren't enough to keep the Dow down. Had enough NVIDIA and Microsoft and what was left to keep the Dow rolling up. And here's the 1 week performance for the Dow. Again, Amazon, Microsoft, and the Apple were on the downside. NVIDIA just barely up for the week. We closed up. Here's how we closed up. Pretty good. SpaceX IPO jumps 19%, closing at 161. Elon Musk becomes the world's first trillionaire. SpaceX begins trading. So congratulations to him. Here's my Ron Barron fund that I got in at 241. Back in this area when we started talking about it. It closed at 276.24. That's about, since I got in, about 14%. I'm still in it. I don't know if I'm going to keep it as a trade or I'm going to keep it as an investment. I got a small position, not too huge, but a small one. It's in a retirement account, so it's not really hurting me either way. But again, you got a nice 14%, in a month. That's not bad on a fund, an open-end fund. Here was the day, just on the day chart on SpaceX, and again you can see it went way up over 176 and came back down and closed at about 160, 161. So again, if you got in and you got hyped out, you got kind of rug pulled here. We'll see where it ends up. It's up a little bit today. We'll see. These things always balance out and then they start. But right now, still a lot of hype, still a lot of people trying to get in. But in 10 days, if the NASDAQ accepts SpaceX within it, you're going to see it kind of pop and be very volatile still. The S&P 500, again, still under this line of resistance. It used to be support, now resistance. It was up just a little. You can see on Friday, look at the oscillators. They're still not back yet, but today looks like it might help that out a lot. Here's your NASDAQ. Again, kind of in this sideways trends, even though we were up, 0.64%. Here's your semiconductors back up, but not quite where we were. Here's your all-time high, getting closer. But again, sideways kind of, you see the sideways movement here on semiconductors. And we also look at the diversion here. You have the volumes going down while price goes up. And that's usually not a good thing, but you could get blasted out by news. And we're going to have news today and last night, and it's going to affect the market, but it's not where it opens, it's where it closes. Be careful. It's going to be the Wild West in the first 45 minutes of trading. Here's your XLK, your technology, again, a little bit up. You look at it up here and you're like, oh, 0.87% up. And when you look at it on the chart, it's like, okay, we really didn't make too much progress on it. And again, here's your diversion on your volume and your upward diversion from your price action going up. So usually not a good thing, but again, we're going to be blasted with news and we'll see how long that keeps the momentum up today. Dow Jones, had a nice little pop on the Dow, up about 0.7, but again, not quite back to all-time highs yet, but heading in that direction. Again, here's the swing trade chart. The nice thing about it, we got above the 9 and maintain that. We'll see if we can still go. We were under for 4 days. I still want to see these oscillators turn around, which I think will happen today if we close where we're opening today. Here's your RSP. This is your equal weight. So equal weight, you saw the heat maps where you saw a lot of green and the rest of the S&P, and that's what happened. So a lot of money flowed out last week into the, especially on Friday, into the broader market. But a lot of money was on the sidelines, and a lot of money went into SpaceX. Here's your mags. So the mags aren't doing all that well, but they did come down, and they are maintaining a level of support at the 200. We did it over here before we collapsed and got back up. But the mags, you look at the oscillators, not doing so well. The mags are not participating. They are funding the party right now. They are not enjoying the party right now. NVIDIA down under the 50. Okay, still under this line. This is a long-term line of support and resistance. Google right on the 50. You've got Apple. Apple was doing well. And then down we came, and now we're kind of in this sideways pattern. When you see this kind of pattern, this is almost a bear flag, and we'll see if it continues out and usually goes lower percentage-wise. We'll see if that happens. Tesla, kind of getting a little bit of a bid over the 50. Again, Tesla, part of SpaceX, got a lot of volume in here. There was a lot of talk about on the media last week about SpaceX folding Tesla into the whole big company, and that brings out a little more of the bid. Microsoft continues flowing down. Got Meta continue again downward trend on Meta. So all these guys spending money are not enjoying the rewards yet of their spending. Again, that's what I'm going to talk about today. I talked about it, in this circular financing, and I'm also going to talk about that tomorrow on what these guys are doing and how it's affecting them potentially in the future on their price action. Here's the XLB. This was up. This was the top fund or ETF or the top sector on Friday, and it had a nice pop up, almost 2%. Okay, when you look at the XLB, this is materials, and within materials you have Lindy. This is the largest in there, and Lindy had a nice run up of 1.58%. It's above the 9. It's above the 50, above the 200, right on the Bollinger Band. So definitely tradable. I don't like it on the Bollinger Band myself. Steel Dynamics was in there. That's a material stock. Kind of like this chart. It doesn't have resistance because we're getting at highs, but you see the structure up, over, up, over, up. And as long as you're between the 9 and the upper Bollinger Band, that's not a bad chart to be. Watch your oscillators. So there's another one you can put on your watch list. PPG Industries. I wouldn't buy it at the upper Bollinger Band, but it's playing within that. Again, up, over, up, over. You can watch some of these, and sometimes you can catch it on a nice trade. Again, not at the upper Bollinger Band, but these are causing the material sector to go up. And then you got industrials. Had a nice day, up about 1.4%, but right on resistance. We did get above the 200 finally in industrials. We've been below it and hitting. We'll see if that lasts. Okay, or it's just a 1 day out within industrials. What caused that? Oh, you got. I don't know why JPM's in there. It's not, JPM is not an industrial, but it is a financial stock, and that helped the financials go up. It went up 2.31%. You got a little ways to go before you hit resistance at 325. I guess I just went right to financials. Citigroup in financials, another one. You see the money flowed in, and here we are, the 9 in the upper Bollinger Band. So it's another one up, sideways, up. We'll see if it goes sideways. But money has started to flow. Last week with the SpaceX and AXP, American Express. This one has a little ways to go. You got above the 50 finally. It's outside the Bollinger, above the 9, the 20. Here's your 200. You'll definitely have some resistance at the 200 unless something comes out and just blows it past. That's at 337.22. You closed at 325. So there's some room to the upside. The downside is your 50 and then your intermediate resistance level or support level. Sorry. XLU, this is utilities. Utilities right up to the 200. Okay, it was up 1.09%. XLK, again, we looked at this, it was up, but still right on its resistance level, right below the 9 on the XLK. That should blow through. Within the XLK, what caused it to go up? Again, we go to Lam Research. We watched this last week, some of the equipment guys, right on the upper Bollinger Band. You look at applied materials rolling up, no resistance up here. We're rolling up again between the 9 and the upper Bollinger Band. Oscillators still look good. Again, momentum play. You got KLAC again, took off last week after a little bit of a stall outside the Bollinger Band. I don't like it out there, but the oscillators are showing momentum. I'd rather have it come back in. And SanDisk. Okay, SanDisk had a nice. Came down below the 9, popped up for 2 days. Now we're on the upper Bollinger. Had a nice crossover on the MACD. XLE Energy, of course, energy's been kind of indecisive because we don't know what's going on with this war. You can see the Bollingers are flat and sideways, which is consolidation on energy. And then real estate. Real estate has come back up to this level of resistance where we've had high before, all the way back. And then here we are again on energy. We'll see if we can get past that level, get a little closer. You can see we just went up and wicked off of it, 45.58 on real estate. You go within real estate, Prologis. This is a big one in real estate. This is these guys are thinking of or talking about becoming like landlords for data centers. So that's been caught a bid here in the last 2 weeks, rolling right up. So right on the upper Bollinger Band, but something where you might catch. The oscillators look good. If you got a little bit, if you could catch it down a little lower, get a little better price action in the upper Bollinger Band, like we did here, you might catch a few points on this one. But it's on the hearsay of they're going to become data center managers. SPG, Simon Property Group, outside the Bollinger Band. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So normally come back in within 4 or 5 times on that. But again, these are causing real estate to go up. Welltower, the second largest in the index, had a nice day, up about 1.7%. So these are what's moving, and this is where the money is flowed. XLI, your industrial. Okay, now we can get to industrials. I don't know how that got in there. Within industrials, General Electric Aerospace. Nice chart. Got above the 200, right up to the Bollinger Band, right back to the 9. And you can see we got resistance up here about 343.80. So that's where you'll find some resistance. Got a little bit to the upside. Your downside is down to the 9 right now on GE Aerospace. And then we looked at some of the aerospace defense contractors. We've been watching it under the 200. finally popped above it. I'm not quite there yet, but we came back down, got above the 50 and the 200 and tapped off of it. I'm going to watch this today, but if you can get a roll on this, there'd be a nice roll up to 198. We're at 183 right now. So watch some of these defense contractors. Here's Staples. Staples right back up again up on Friday, right to resistance. Within Staples, you got Dr. Pepper, kind of a nice chart. Nine to the upper Bollinger, 9 to the upper Bollinger. I don't like this negative crossover here, so I don't know if that means we're stopping. You can see kind of sideways, or we're going to continue up. But the MACD is still up above. So again, you got some room. And here's your resistance up here at 33.48, and you closed at 31.71. KVUE, another nice chart within the industrials and right along the upper Bollinger Band. Again, I'd like to have that come back a little bit, but again, you see it above the 200. So, we had the 50%, we're like 50% up and above the 200. We got a lot of stocks rolling along the 200, and this one broke out. So it might be something you want to watch. And Monster Beverage, again, here's another one within the consumer staples side, and it's riding right up on your upper Bollinger Band. You see where we came? Started diverging on the Bollingers, and so again, you got some room on Monster Beverages, and then Walmart. Walmart had that earnings drop down. I like it when it can come back on the 200, and now you're seeing the 9 roll back up. It's right at the 20. We get past the 20, you go to the 50. So watch Walmart. Walmart's certainly not going to go out of business, but it does have the fluctuation of the news and the news on the earnings. And we did a report on it, what's happened to Walmart. And Walmart's not having issues. Walmart's just seeing a change of demographics in their stores. XLY, consumer discretionary, again, right below the 50, right below the 200. Home Depot is kind of breaking out a little bit, right above the 50. So keep this on your list above the 9 and above intermediate support. So watch Home Depot. And then Marriott's. If you can believe it, hotels and Marriott just going between the 9 and the upper Bollinger Band. So put that on your list. Here's your healthcare. Healthcare has kind of bounced out here on the resistance about 155.15. And then some healthcare, you got Amgen. Amgen broke above the 50, came back, retested it right on the upper Bollinger. The 9 crossed the 50, the 20 crossed the 50. Oscillators are looking up, so watch Amgen. You got some room to roll up. You're going to have some resistance right about where it is. You can see, and then you can get past that level. You could roll up to 380.14. And CVS, of all things, the drugstore. Nice run up, sideways back down. Okay. This is considered a bull flag when you go up and down, and that's exactly what happened. It broke out, and off it goes. Again, outside the Bollinger Band, but something to watch. XLC, Communication Services, again, couldn't quite get back above the 9, tried to. We're still heading down, but we are bouncing here off support at about a 111.20 Communication Services. Within that, Verizon's breaking out a little bit. You can see it above the 50. Watch the upper Bollinger for resistance, but 4 or 5 days up, we broke the 9, broke the 20, broke the 50. Oscillators crossed over. MACD, something I like to look for. You might get a point or two out of that. Starbucks rolling up above the 50. Nice. Just watch your resistance. You can see we're right here why there's resistance at about 106.50. We're at 103.04, so $3 above where we are. Oh, and there's my golf course. That's the farmer's golf course. Okay, so I'm going to go to Bitcoin real quick. And again, sorry, Mondays are always busy because of the weekends. And that is not the one I want. Go down here. There we go. This is the one I want. Share. Here's Bitcoin, and look what Bitcoin did. It got above it. We said watch this 9 and see if we get above the 9. It starts rolling up and starts rolling that price action up. So we're at 66,520, above that 65 level that we tried to stay out of. And here's your 20. We get above the 20. We could be on our way up to the 70,000 level again. So again, you watch these, down it goes. Again, this is classic kind of a bear flag when you do this and you head up. Then at some point it usually comes back down. We'll see if that pattern plays out. But right now we get above the 20. We could see it roll up to 70 or come back down to the 65 level. And I think That's where I'm gonna leave it. I already went over, taking too much of Trent's time here. Trent, what you got?
All right. Well, somebody asked how Kerry's doing. His journey on Friday was really interesting. We got there at 6:30 in the morning. He got checked in, where they brought him back at 7:30. That he was one of three cases, and he happened to be the third case. And it was told we would be out of there by 3 o'clock after a 4 hour rest period, so they could monitor him. He didn't go in to surgery until 2 o'clock. Because the number two case went about 4 hours, which tells you for the kind of procedure this guy does, and it was the same procedure Kerry was doing, I guess it got a little complicated. So Kerry sat on his computer in the waiting, but not the waiting room per se, like we were waiting in, but in the staging room, I guess you would call it. Everything went great. He was out within an hour, said his heart looks good. The procedure went great. We ended up staying till 10 o'clock Friday night because one of his incisions would not clot. It finally did. Saturday morning, I woke up at their house, and I just sat there for a moment, just trying to see if my mom would be screaming and yelling. No screaming and yelling. So I walked downstairs and saw my mom was up. Didn't see my dad, and I was like, "Is he okay?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, he's just getting ready for the day." He comes out. There was a 180-degree change in his energy level, his mood. You could see it in his face. It was just like the old Kerry, to be honest with you, probably a year ago or 2 years ago. And we sat and talked and the whole bit. He said the one thing that's weird is he's been talking about knee pain recently in the last 6-9 months. And he said, it's gone. He goes, I have no knee pain. I have no aches and pains. I don't feel sore anywhere anymore. He goes, I wonder if it just has everything to do with this AFib thing. And we ended up getting talking about the technology behind it and where the future of all this is going and this, that, and the other. But when I left on Saturday afternoon, he was in great shape. Mom said that he was doing well yesterday. I'll talk to him later today. But overall, the procedure was great. And the results so far have been good, knock on wood. He's got some follow-up, but then he goes back to, I think, the cardiologist about one of the valves in his is 5 or 6 millimeters, and it's supposed to be 3. And so that's where he has talked about the open heart side of it. But overall, I'm like, if this did the trick, I'm like, man's got a lot more energy now, and a lot more excitement than he did 24 hours earlier on Friday morning. So very, very encouraging. So he appreciates y'all's support. Of course, he'll probably be on the Discord today, and we'll have Friday's call as well. So thank you all for your prayers and your thoughts. It meant a lot after sitting there from 7:30 or 6:30 in the morning until 10 at night before we left. It really just amazing what technology is doing for health. He and I even were talking on Saturday. I said, eventually they're going to come to you and take a device like this size, and they're going to go, yeah, you have AFib, and they're going to put it on his heart, and they're going to be able to see it and fix it without ever breaking the skin to fix it. I said, that is where technology, that is where AI is headed. And because you
It's
see
like
it,
it's like Dr. McCoy in Star Trek.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. You and I talked about that.
Yeah,
And
Saturday.
it's like, so if you want to see the future, watch a
Star
year's worth of Star Trek, and you'll have an idea. It told you the flip phone was coming. We got the flip phone.
Yeah.
today. I think with where the advancements in technology, but also artificial intelligence, I honestly think his procedure will become a minor procedure that will not be invasive, just as it is already developed. I mean, as he and I were talking, I was like, how did they figure out how to do that without opening your chest? In the past, they opened your chest and did that procedure. And of course, that's like a 6 to 12 month recovery rate. This, he's up and running the next day, no problem. So overall, is really, really good. So yeah, thank you all again on that. So over the weekend, AMD came out with the announcement of their AMD Ryzen AI Hollow. And I don't know if you remember, a year or 2 years ago, NVIDIA came out with this gold box, and it was a AI computer, and it's got GPUs in it, memory as well, and you would buy it for $5,000, put it on your desktop, and you basically run an AI stack right there on your desktop. AMD has come out with their version of that. The Apple Pro 4, people have been using that as well. And what this is, and this really didn't hit me until I started doing development. So the 1880 quant analyzer, that's all been coded, developed, and runs off of Claude AI. And so when you go in there and you click on, AI's take, it goes out to Claude AI, goes to their servers, does the calculations, does all that, and then creates commentary. The white papers that you receive, the podcasts that you are getting, all of that is done in the AI cloud. Now, the thing that's been coming up here recently, and we heard it with Uber, we heard it with Anthropic, or with Microsoft and a handful of others, is the cost to run these models on the cloud code or Claude Cloud, or OpenAI's cloud, or anybody else's, is the token cost. Because the token cost has come down, the adoption rate has skyrocketed. In like Uber, they blew through their whole AI budget in 3 months. And that is going to become the bigger and bigger cost. So I got to thinking about it. What is my cost to run Claude code and Claude co-work and so on? And it runs me a base price of $100, $200 a month. And then if I exceed the usage that is allocated to that 200, I can allocate more dollars to that. And so I can buy more tokens to continue on. Well, that can run me up to where recently about $750. Well, I'm one guy doing what I would call, middle school level stuff. I'm not running PhD algos. I'm not Citadel running these big, models, and eventually I hope to be. But I think the cost is significant. So when I saw this new AMD, here, I'll just put it up here. Let me get that here. When I saw this introduction to this computer, it looks like the size of a lunchbox. It sits on your computer or on your desktop. You connect it to your computer, and you can run a lot of the development side of things on this. Now, NVIDIA had introduced one about a year or 2 years ago, and then all of a sudden we quit hearing about it. But I think as we see the continued cost of running AI on the Claude's certain databases, or OpenAI's data centers and all that, eventually we're going to say, hey, there's a couple things I want to do. One, I want to reduce that cost, and the necessary, the big meat and potatoes of my development, I want it to sit on my desktop. are on my desk next to my computer. And that way I can reduce costs. So I can download models, download the development system onto these things, and I can avoid the cost that would run up. And then I can use Claude or I can use OpenAI to do certain things that can't be housed on this. Basically, you cut the cost of the overall development of these things. And I think more and more and more, we are going to see this movement to basically local processing, in this case, GPUs, CPUs, and memory, all on your desktop. And this is probably for about 30% of the AI users. These are for developers, but this is where the real big cost is coming from. And so I see this movement towards this. I see NVIDIA making changes with the changes in the size of wafers they're developing now. We're going from these big, this size of wafer to this size of wafer because competition is coming forward. And what I think we're going to see at a much faster pace than we have ever seen in history is the push for efficiency and simplicity and cost effectiveness. And I think these kind of products that we're seeing out of AMD, we saw it with NVIDIA, but all of a sudden you don't hear about it much. But I think as we see the cost of running and building AI type products, building agents, running agents, you're more and more going to become focused on cost efficiency. And a product like this would be definitely something I'm looking at. I'm doing the research. I'm like, is this something I should consider at this point in the game? Would I save money by using something like this? And as we develop bus, will this become a bigger and bigger part of our cost to run the business? And I assume everybody of their company out there is going to be thinking the same way. So this is one thing to check out. Is really pretty cool. And I'm doing my research on, is it applicable to what we do at Bus? Could this save us money? Could this be something that takes us to a whole nother level? I don't know, but I see that the cost to the end user is going to become the biggest headache and the biggest wall to climb in the future. And I think companies like AMD and NVIDIA, I think will make these kind of things more cost effective. It's sort of like the large screen TV. When they first came out, they were $10,000. Today, my son-in-law bought one 72-inch TV, which I was like, dude, that's a movie theater, for about $600. I honestly think you're going to get to a point in the very near future where AI is going to come more cost effective overall. And so when I look at these kind of products, I look at what AMD is doing today. Today, it's opening up at 500. I want to show the chart there. There we go. AMD today will open up at $534 versus its $511 close on Friday. Now, that is up against resistance, so keep that in mind. And I think a lot of this has to do with the headline news. But I think this is one thing where I look at an AMD as a competitor towards NVIDIA, where I look at maybe Apple becoming another company that will blossom because they will adopt the consumer-based use of AI to an affordable price for us. NVIDIA, I think, is more focused on the data center development, the big money, the big enterprise. I think each of these companies is going to find a niche and a path to go down. And I think this is that third inning where we shuffle the cards a bit. We try to put the puzzle together over the next 3 innings. And then at that point, we'll filter out all the junk, the companies that aren't going to do well. And we'll have our base that we will then build that 7th, 8th, and 9th inning game, just as we have seen in every industry. But this time it's going to be way, way faster. And as we're seeing, it is moving way, way faster than it has in the past. So That is, oh, and then one other thing from a stock idea. This is an ETF. This is the Global X Lithium and Battery Tech ETF. From a technical and from my analyzer standpoint, it's starting to set up to be a pop higher. Looks like it's going to open above the trade trend line. It's above the Tudor Jones 200, above the intermediate trend line, and looks to open above that trade trend line. We could see a pop. So if you're looking for a trade, something to move higher over the next probably 15 days, this is something to check out. I don't have anything that's scoring real well. That's screaming, let's get in this on a 15 to 62 period moving average kind of point of view. Or 16 period moving average, 62 period moving average. But this is one to take a look at. Just put it on your radar. If we see a close above the trade trend line, we could see definitely a move higher, maybe another $8, 10% move out of it. So keep an eye on that. All right, that's what I got right now. Zeke, what's your question?
Yeah, good morning. A couple remarks and a couple questions. Nice to hear that Kerry is doing well. Uh, they probably gave him a shot of Benefix when they saw that his blood was not coagulating. And of course, they're also concerned about internal coagulation at the same time. So when they do that, they have to monitor things. These are all pretty routine parts of the procedure. Uh, and of course, going back to the patient before him that took longer, they don't just start the procedure and then get to the near the end and then do an analysis. They're continually there's points along the procedure. The reason why I know this is because I board the surgeon that's done my procedures with questions. Uh,
Yeah,
they have checkpoints, and
yeah,
if the devices that they use and all of that kind of stuff, the information that's before them doesn't meet those checkpoints, they stop and reassess. So that's kind of how it is. Glad to
yeah,
hear it all ended well, and I think you'll be just fine. The other thing is too, you mentioned open heart surgery. I don't think open heart surgery, well, I'm almost sure open heart surgery doesn't really mean as open as it used to mean when they first did open heart surgery.
yeah.
It probably means instead of going in through an artery, they just go in through the chest with a robot, to lack of a better word, and they'll size that valve down, and that'll be the end of that.
Yeah,
So that's
I don't know exactly what that entails, um, or even if it's going to happen. But it's something he has brought up. When I think of open heart, they just open up the whole rib cage. But you're right. I mean, my wife
I
had
don't think so.
surgery,
Not
and
anymore. Not
they,
anymore. Not. I mean, they may on certain instances, but
yeah,
that's not the way my heart surgeon explained it to me. So
yeah.
and
No, I
I
mean, my wife had surgery, lady surgery, and it was all robotics. The guy sat on the opposite side of the room and opened up his Xbox Game Boy and whatever, and did the surgery. And what it is, it's less invasive. It's quicker healing. So I suspect you're right, Zeke, that it's not like the old days where they crack your whole frontal plate, and you end up 6 to 12 months of trying to recover. So
yeah.
yeah, I think it's just the advancement in health technology is mind boggling from my perspective.
Okay, my next point is for those of you who go on about the cold temperatures. Uh, all I have to say to that is I've taken 38 tomato plants, medium sized and huge, off of my tomatoes off my tomato plants so far this growing season. Okay, now let's get down to the more important stuff. A quick question for Mark, and then I've got one for back to you, Trent.
Okay.
A couple of times you mentioned you don't like this guy, Sam Altman. I don't want to know why or get into that, but you mentioned the second person in that list too. Is that Kevin O'Leary on that list?
You're on mute. Oh, there you
Which
go.
list are you talking about, Zeke?
Well, I don't know. Oftentimes you'll throw in when
Oh,
AI comes up, you say Sam Walton. No, I don't like that guy, and I don't like
I don't.
somebody else either, and I can't remember who that is.
Zuckerberg.
Mark Zuckerberg.
Oh, Mark Zuckerberg. Okay,
Yeah.
so Kevin O'Leary's not on that list then.
I like Kevin O'Leary.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. I like his
Well,
watch. I like his watch collections. We have that in common. I like watches too.
oh, technically, yeah. I just find him as a person very difficult to listen to and watch. Okay, good. We got that straightened out. Trent,
Thanks. I'm glad I was able to help, Zeke.
yeah, thanks. Uh, uh, CBRS that popped up. Your I don't know how it popped up. Whether you sent it to me in a text or an email on my phone on the weekend, and I thought, oh great, and I ran out and got the coffee cup filled, and came in and sat down and watched it. Got about a third of the way through it, and the dogs started at me because they wanted to go outdoors, and of course one thing led to another, and never got back to it. Then when I decided to get back to it, I couldn't find it again, how you had sent it to me.
Is it CBRS?
I think so, yeah. The
Yeah,
one
that's
with the pizza pie
yep.
yeah.
Yeah, that I brought it up on the call the other day, last week.
Well, no, you actually sent me you might
Oh, I
have.
sent you. Oh, it was on the I did a research report on it, I believe.
Yeah, the
Yeah, in a
deep dive. And
podcast.
I started like I said, and only got a third of the way into the deep dive, and then through various things that happened, I lost it and I can't seem to find it.
So you can should be able to find it on the Discord or let me pull this up for those at
I
home who
went to
don't.
Trent's office on the Discord looking for it and didn't find it there.
Okay, so you can go here on the website, go down to research and white papers,
Okay.
CBRS right here, and you can open up the research report right there, or you can click here, hit listen, and you get the podcast and a commercial, of course.
Oh,
Okay,
comments
good.
up.
Yeah, so it's right there. It's in everything, all that's there. Mark, his white papers as well as mine um, are here. So you can see they're all in here. I'm adding a bunch today. Mark's been doing a great job. And I got to figure out how to make this more consistent. But the what's not on CNBC that Mark's writing, I think I'm gonna just start attaching those to the morning newsletter. But you can get those. You can get the research papers. You can sort them by author. As you can see here, why is it doing that? There we go. So like Mark's recent Dollar General one, I encourage you to check that out. Mark doesn't put like a buy, hold, speculative or anything like that on his. It's pure research. You make the decision. So when you see his, I just put it as a hold because it should be something you should just do your deep dive on. So unless Mark has more insight on that. But you can see all these here. I have gone through Kerry's tell sheet and done the research reports based on how I screen them. Kerry's research reports are done on his tell sheet still. And you can find those. You can go to his tell sheet here, or you can go over here and see them here. And you can break them down, SEC info, all the different things there. You can see his deep dives. Click here if you want to see them, that kind of thing. So you can also go to his version of it, which is on a Google sheet, and you can do the same thing. So they're all right there. And that's how you would find that, Z.
Okay. The
Or
only
you
other,
can go to the Discord as well under investment research or under the knowledge category and then investment research, and they're in there as well.
okay. The only other thing I'm a little curious as to if anybody bought into SpaceX. Um, I did, and of course, my intention was to stay in there for 10, 15 minutes. I think you call that day trading. I don't know. And I did that, and I made a bundle on that. And I'm just wondering if anybody else did the same thing. I'm back out of it now, of course.
I'm still in it in that fund I have. I haven't sold out. I'm up 14% plus right now.
Wow, good. Okay, thanks.
Like I said, I saw Ron Barron this morning on CNBC, and I'm pretty impressed with what he says and his knowledge. He's been an Elon Musk friend and investor for a long time. So I kind of my antennas go up when I hear things like what he said. So I'll see what I do. But right now I'm doing well. But yeah, as far as the buying the stock straight out, I'm going to try to let it calm down a little bit and see where it ends up. But I think in the long term it'll be a good stock to own. As a small percent of your portfolio.
The next boost may come. Uh, where did I see this morning? They plan on getting in the
10 days. Yeah. And then
in 10
NASDAQ.
days. Yeah.
So Mark, we're waiting on you to tell us when is the next good time to end.
What's that?
We're waiting for you to tell us when is a good time to jump in
To jump in?
on SpaceX.
Well, I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've only had, this is only our second day of trading. I don't have much of a data point yet, other than that one candle. So
We're waiting on you, man.
yeah, I'll keep watching it for you, Will. I'll tell you if I get in. I'll tell you when.
And Trent, thank you, man, for the great job you did with Kerry. Thank you so much, man.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Willie.
It's the NASDAQ he's going to get put SpaceX in, isn't it? That's what it is.
In 10 days it has to
10
trade
days.
for 10 days.
Yeah.
I think the S&P turned them down on getting in early.
I think the Russell is going to put them in there too for some reason. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. That's Angelo. Is that you? Is that Samsung? No. Samsung. Yep. Are you there? You got to take off your mute. Samsung S9. You take your mute off. You see your hands up.
There you
Can
go.
you hear me?
Go.
Can
There
you hear
go.
me?
Yep.
Good morning
Good
to
morning.
everybody. I'm happy
morning.
that Kerry's doing okay. A big kahuna gotta stay in good health. But I
The
got
big kahuna.
I got a couple of questions. Over the weekend, my wife told me that there's a big depression coming in the market and it's going to take a few years to recover. So she said to me, wait a minute, what are you talking about? I said, let me ask this guy Monday to see, because I don't want to be, I got about 43 stocks I have on the one that you recommended on your Kerry's page. And I'm hoping they're still on the recommending stage, because I like the ones that I got. I spoke to Trent a couple of weeks ago, and he said that he don't know that, because I put a low price on them, but I never came to a low price where I adjusted them, and I got all of them except for 4 now, and I just want to see how you think the market's going to do in the next year or two.
Well, that's a good question. I wish I knew, because we'd all be rich, wouldn't we?
Yeah, of course.
I think you always have to be prepared for, Trent and I, we tread on the cautious side, and Kerry is looking forward, years on his. So if, when you get into a Kerry stock, for the most part, he's looking at hitting a target within a certain area of time. Okay, so he doesn't necessarily look at where he enters or where he exits, just to per se, like Trent and I might. I look at charts and I look at trends, and we look at history, and I look at what I see happening in AI, and I bring out in my reports, and I'm talking my fears of this, because my biggest fear is seeing a market breadth that is very narrow or very negative, and a market that's narrow, which it has been just in semis, as we saw from April on, just zooming up on the semis. And I look at all this spend and when's the return going to happen. So in the back of my mind, I'm always very cautious. So I'm in a wealth preservation mode, where in my lifetime, I've already built wealth. I was watching some guys on YouTube over the weekend, and they were talking about, when you've built up your nest egg and you like it and you don't want to lose it, you're not out chasing semiconductor stocks going parabolic, because you don't need to, because that risk is too high for you. So I don't know your personal situation, and I don't know your wife has some insight. If she's got some good insight that we're going to go into depression, I want her on this channel telling us because I want to know too.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
what
Well,
does what is she thinking? Why is she thinking that? I mean,
well, she heard that from some friends or something, and I'm not 100% sure because I got most of my wealth in there because I bought this house and I lost like $100,000 on it, and I
oh,
just want to start to recover some of my money. That's the reason I put most of my money back into the stock market. I had a mutual fund, but they wasn't going nowhere, so I said, let me just liquidate my mutual funds, and just go into stocks because they seem to be, and I've done pretty good since I started. I
right.
gained $50,000, which I'm happy for, but I don't want to lose it. I just want to hoping
Yeah,
that
yeah.
the ones that the one on Kerry page, and I know he's long term, and you guys are short term. So I know you guys are more technical, but I
No,
just want to know your viewpoint on what is going to happen in the next 6 months to a year.
I have long-term commitments on mine. I've had forever, like Berkshire and Strategy and different ones that I use, and so I'm in those pretty good price cost basis. And then I have a lot of money sitting in short-term treasuries just waiting. So I think we're pretty high, just me personally. And I'm risk averse. And again, I'm in a different situation. I don't want to go through a 2008. I don't want to go through an 87. I don't want to go through a 2000 again with me. So I have a different philosophy of where my money is. And so I'm always skeptical of the market because I know, and I've been inside the internals of the market. I know what they try to do, which is try to take your money away, and they do a very good job of it. They suck you in. That's why I put out the anatomy of the rug pull and how they do that from the inside, and it's always there, and you always got to be aware of it. And so, if you're up on stocks, like Trent always says, some of these stocks are up 100%.
Yeah.
That's just unheard of, and you might want to pull back a little. I'm going to turn over to Trent because what are your thoughts, Trent?
Well, I saw I forget his name. He's a older gray hair guy down in Boca. He's very famous as a short seller. And I
Chanos?
saw, what does it say?
Chanos?
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw an interview with him on Bloomberg last week about the SpaceX IPO. And he pointed out, he says, this is like, its price to sales ratio is like, he said 140 and mine was 250 or something.
Wow.
And he says it never ends well when you see that kind of. He said price to revenue, but I think price to sales is the same thing. Um, it never ends well, and so you just back out and start looking at the forest of this, and you go, what's the valuations on these companies? Now there are some like Nvidia that have really nice valuations, but they've been going sideways for a long time now. That tells me something there. You see a lot of the companies have hit resistance levels. AMD is right now at 148. It hit 150, and that seems to be, if it closes below 150 today, it's hit another ceiling. And I think I look at it from that perspective. And then what was Mark was talking about earlier about just the cost or the debt these companies are taking on to develop this, the platforms, the data centers. I look at a lot of the other variables that are slowing these things down versus what we hear in the headlines. I mean, I made the talked about the number of data centers proposed last year was 777. 16% of them are in the midst of permitting and approval, and only a third of those are actually broken ground, which tells me that what has been told to us in the development of AI and the pace we're moving is actually a lot slower. So I look at that and I am looking for that stalling of capex spending. I'm in the next earnings. I'm looking for the level of debt and off-balance sheet debt these guys are having to finance. But I'm also looking at our bigger macro picture, and that is us as a consumer and our ability to consume. I had a conversation with my youngest daughter and her husband. about coming down from Augusta to Florida for Father's Day. And she was like, yeah, but I'm going to also come down like a week and a half later for her birthday and a couple other things, right? And I said, Emma, I was like, it's going to cost you $100 to get here and $100 going back. And I know on a military salary, that's a lot of money. I was like, you need to wait, maybe hesitate a little bit and just come down when you can be down for a full like 2 weeks kind of thing. And it was a conversation about cost of, in her world, doing business. It's costing more to eat. It's costing more to live. And I think those kind of things, when you see that eventually bleed into the consumer, we saw CPI at 4.2. That's a sizable move since the last, it was 3.8, and then prior to that. So the cost of living is increasing, and I think all these variables come into play, and eventually it will reset. Now, I've come more to a conclusion that we will see a reset in the technology sleeve, the XLA or the AI sleeve, versus some of these other industries. Oil and gas, to me, petroleum, I think is fairly fair price, yet it's so needed with AI development. And then also just the demand for energy minus data centers on our infrastructure in this country has to be built out and has to be better better designed. And I think that those days are coming for infrastructure build out in energy and all that. So when I look at all this, I really narrow down the expense. The overvalued area is that small sliver of technology, in particular AI. And I believe it will correct itself at some point in the next, actually yesterday I was like, well, this could run another year. We could have another run for another year. And that is the point of where you go, okay, well, I just need to follow the trend, but more importantly, really, really dial in my risk management strategy. What am I going to do when this happens? If this happens, therefore I do this. But if this happens, I do this. If you can build your process around those, it's a coding program. It's how people program computers or software. If this happens, then this happens. Therefore, or if this happens, therefore this happens. But if this happens, therefore this happens. If you can build your process around that risk management strategy, I think you'll be just fine. But right now, the headlines drive it.
I think you hit it on the head. You need a process, and I always said, I have trading guidelines, and they're out on the Discord that I follow. And if it doesn't meet my trading guidelines, I don't get in. I don't care how it looks, even if it's going straight up, because it's outside my comfort zone in my trading. Warren Buffett always says, rule number one is don't lose money, and rule number two is see rule number one. And so when you get in a trade or you get in an investment, you have to have in the back of your mind, where am I going to get out? If this thing goes wrong, okay, I have a great company, but it's a horrible market structure, and all of a sudden everything's dumping. Do I have a stop limit on the bottom side, even on an investment that I just got in case it goes wrong, and I can get out and maybe get a better price on a good company, And if I get an investment and I'm up 100%, okay, do I want to take my principal off? Is that part of my process? And let the house money roll and then put a stop under that, in case it pops down. And so I guarantee my profits, and that's rule number one. And so the key is there, I think, if you're up on something, you want to protect those gains. You don't want to go back to, losing your 50,000 or going
That's
under.
correct.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you, Mark.
Yeah.
Let me ask, this next question is for Trent. I need to change my credit card because I don't know for what reason they keep targeting me. I go to these stores and with my debit card, and this is the second time this year that this happened. Somehow they get my number or something, or how the heck they get this number. They get my number. They start charging stuff to my card. It gets really annoying.
Yeah.
So now I gotta change my card. So I want to change. How do I go to the website and change my card on the website.
Sure, real quick, I'll hit this. If you go to the website, log in, you can go to manage membership over here and then
Okay.
manage billing. And then you'll have to log into it. It will send you a email or to your email that's on file.
Okay.
It's a security side of things, and you just click on that link, and it'll bring you in, and you can change it in there. If you have
Okay.
problems, if that doesn't work, or so you have an issue there, I'll put my number here. You can text me, and I'll help you out.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
So we had Tanya was in there a while back, and then she dropped. Tanya, do you have a question before we go to Zoom user? You take yourself off mute. There you go. I saw
Hi.
you had your hand up, and I don't want to miss you.
Yeah, I did. I just wanted to clarify the SpaceX thing, the IPO. Did you guys say that the institutions can't buy for 10 business days? Is that what you
No,
said?
no. We said that in 10 days, the NASDAQ will include it in their index.
So that doesn't mean that there will be suddenly lots of institutional buying or anything.
No, well, it actually does. If you are running a fund or something that mimics the NASDAQ 100 or the NASDAQ,
They'll be
you will
buying.
you will have to buy whatever percent that SpaceX has in there.
Okay.
Yeah,
So does that mean that it's likely to pop quite a bit?
that would be my assumption. Trent, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if every index or think about the S&P or the NASDAQ 100 puts SpaceX in, every ETF mutual fund index that follows the NASDAQ 100 has to allocate assets to it.
We'll have
And
Right.
to buy
so
it.
if
So
you
why
go
wouldn't
online
everybody
and
buy it now and just like get out when, a couple
what
days after?
well, and think about that, knowing that information, knowing that event's going to happen, once the stock becomes shortable, so you can short it or you can buy puts, that kind of thing, which I think is going to be a while, if I remember right. You could have a lot of positioning to go against that purchasing. So that's always something to keep in mind. But yeah, I mean, but the thing is, it's not like they go out and buy, okay, we're $1 billion index fund. We're going to go buy 5% of SpaceX to add in. They do it in like small chunks. So
Right.
you may not see that pop. You may just see the market absorb it.
Yeah,
So
it's anatomy of a rug pull. I kind of explain how they do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so it's not like they go in, 5 minutes till 3 on, before the market closes and go, okay, now we're gonna buy $1 billion of SpaceX. They just like their traders go in and they just accumulate until they're at the
Okay.
allocated
So
amount.
it's not they're all doing it in 2 weeks
Well,
or something.
years ago, it was like boom, you could time it. There's a great book about a guy who timed the Nikkei, the addition of a stock to the Nikkei. But today it's so known, and so people are already buy into it and absorb it, and so yeah, I don't know. I don't see a 10% or so pop in it. If
Okay.
anything, I just see
One thing that will happen though is that every week when people get paid, if you are in a NASDAQ 100 fund and you have 10% of your paycheck go in, whatever percent is going to keep going into that every week now. So that it'll be constant buying, just like in the Mavic 7s right now.
Yeah. So that
Okay.
is one element. As long as the 401k, if you can, well, if you buy a technology index fund and they adopt it like XLK or something, um, you buy that systematically through a 401k or something like that, they're systematically buying it as well. So on a longer term basis, it could continue to grow until it doesn't. But that's really any stock added to any index, you have the same kind of effect.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Part two.
Yeah.
Who's speculating that Tesla will be included? Like, is it a legitimate
Well,
person that's
well,
involved.
I hear it on CNBC. They talk about it all the time. So,
So it's
it's
just
just
anyone.
speculation. Yeah, it's just financial talk. But, they go back and forth. Oh, yeah, that would be great because Tesla's more than a car company. It's AI and it's robotics and this and that. So it's just speculation. But they were like talking about how it'd just be easier for Musk to have it all under one than have it all over the place.
I think it's a lot of gibberish right
I
now.
can't see that
Yeah.
happening actually.
No,
Well,
and honestly, I go back to my friends who, during prior to the great financial crisis, they would opened up restaurants in the same company, and all of a sudden one of the restaurants goes bankrupt. It takes down the other restaurants and puts them completely out of business. If Tesla were to run into a major issue that would cause them as a company to really falter, or any of the other ones like SpaceX, like the rocket company, Starlink, or XAI,
So as
I
it
don't
is,
know if I'd
only
want
one
them
of
all
them is making
together.
money, right?
What's that?
Only one of them's making money right now. This Starlink, right?
Yeah, the rest of
So
the other two don't make money. Yeah.
yeah. Why
So
would
the
you
only
want
reason
to?
you bring Tesla in is potentially to boost that earnings. I don't know. I would keep it separate.
no, I mean, SpaceX is definitely valued very high right now, so that would be a
Yeah.
concern. That's why I say if I was going to buy regular shares, I'd wait for it to even out and figure out where it's going to end up.
Yeah. And honestly, 2 days is not a trend. Just
Oh
remember
no,
that.
it's not. No, it's nothing. Yeah, we're still in the hype mode of SpaceX, and who
Yeah.
knows, man? It could go to 200, 250. Who knows? Or it could go down to 90. You know,
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't know. I wish I
Yeah.
could. I wish I could tell you guys. I don't.
But I think if you own it, or like Mark, you own the
Ron
closed end
Barron's
fund,
fund.
or
Yeah.
yeah, you have a process to say if it does go to 90, how am I out of this? And that's
Well,
where
I mean, even if it
that's your
goes to
risk
90,
management process come down into it.
you got Ron Barron. He's in it at $15 to $20 a share, so you're still up.
Yeah.
That is a fact. So
Yeah, I guess my point is always have a exit
yeah,
strategy.
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
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 I'm not risking it right now. So
No, I wouldn't either. I mean, I'm not, but it's really up to you and your personal risk management strategy and personal situation.
thank
Okay.
you.
Zoom user, I think it's our favorite and our sponsored dentist.
Hey, good
Zoom
morning,
user.
guys. Good
How are
morning.
you?
I hope everything is going well with you guys.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear Kerry procedure went well. Go, Kerry, go. Um, a comment from Trent in the data center. I live in Illinois, and I'm starting to see signs on people's lawn, just saying no data centers. You know, if the trend keeps going, they're going to have a lot of um, objections. You know what I mean? And politicians live and die by votes, right?
Right.
So they're going to get calls from people saying we don't want any data centers and all that. How do you think it's going to work? What do you guys think?
That's
Well,
interesting. Go ahead, Trent.
Kerry and I were talking about Nibius. They are building a 15-acre facility, which is a small facility in Birmingham, and it basically he falls into the radius of where that he could be affected via electricity or water. And as he pointed out, we were watching the news. I think it was Thursday night, and they're protesting. There's people in Birmingham are like all in a stink. And he pointed out to me, he says, "Yeah, the deal's done." He goes, "They did the deal and nobody knew it. And a lot of these deals are being done that way behind closed doors.
They
And
did
then all
ours
of a
that
sudden
way.
they tell everybody, and that's where the voice comes out. Oh, we're protesting this and the other." So I think the overall is Nibius will make sure Jefferson County of Alabama, that the elected officials will be okay. I gotta believe there's some backdoor, support in their next campaign or whatever. So I honestly don't see this accelerating or this becoming an issue. Those signs showing up is in a lot of cases uninformed. There are some issues, if it's a vertically integrated facility where they don't tap into the energy source, that would jeopardize cause you blackouts or brownouts. I think a lot of people don't understand how they're built in some cases. In some cases, they do tap into the network. And so it does. So I think it just continues. I think money talks and the rest walks. So that's how I see it.
I am the opposite. In fact, I'm going to put out a paper tomorrow going deep into probably 17 pages of what I think is going to happen with data centers and the opposition they're going to have and the effect it's going to have on all the suppliers. And that's about 17 pages right now. I'm just finishing it up. And
Okay.
it's you guys can make up your own mind, but this is how I see it. I live down the road from a data center that was put in without really anyone's knowledge. They bought the land under a assumed name, so nobody knew who was buying the land, and started it up. Estimated about 500,000 gallons of water a day. It goes through, burns through electricity also, and they want to triple its size, which would be 3 times more power required than the entire municipal power system has right now availability to do. Right down the road, 5 miles is a town that has water restrictions on watering your grass to once a week for an hour, and they're going through 500,000 gallons of water a day. So I think I'm the opposite trend on this one, and I'll put out some information tomorrow and back up my theory on that.
I think there's a bigger issue that's going to slow things down. And it came out last week with Anthropic. Anthropic has this model that was released, and it is really strong. And in the release, they announced that they are actually governing it, meaning that if you type in something like, how do I build a dirty bomb? They will shut you down. If you ask questions about, what is the use of fertilizer, this, that, and the other, they have the right, they can shut you down. And there's a really good discussion on the All In podcast this week on this. And this is starting, in the other part of it is they track all of the information that is asked of this model within Claude Code, and they're holding the data for 30 days. So it violates privacy guidelines that a lot of these enterprises have signed documents with. And that's why Microsoft actually canceled their subscription to Anthropic. So I look at it from a bigger point of view is that is this, is the watchful eye of Anthropic going to be watching over me and governing if I can or can't use? And it will kick you out and downgrade you to another model. And there has been an enormous amount of backlash over the last week when this document came out in terms and conditions over this. And a lot of companies are questioning Anthropic. And Anthropic is one of the big 3 IPOs this year. SpaceX #1, OpenAI is filed, but now Anthropic is said to IPO. This could kill Anthropic's business because of what they're doing when it comes to governing AI and making decisions of if you can or can't use their product. And I think this is where OpenAI could actually step up into that, back into a bigger part of the race from an enterprise standpoint, because I think Anthropic it's violating our rights and its privacy, and they're governing if you can or can't use it based on some language. And they may not. You may be a journalist asking, questions about something that to build a story, and you all of a sudden get shut out of their program. I mean, they're not, there's no KYC kind of thing about it. So I think that's the other bigger issue that's going to actually slow down. And a lot of this is who's the the watchful eye over us and determining what we can and can't do. So, anyways, I'm interested to hear see your paper, Mark.
Yeah, it's pretty detailed. I've thought a lot about it this weekend. Just a thought, just
Yeah.
my thought, just one idiot's thought about what's going on.
Yeah.
That'd be me. That's my new series, but one idiot's thought.
All right.
There's some charts that someone wanted to look at. Can I go over them real quick? I don't want
Yeah,
to.
go ahead. Yeah.
And I'll go through them fast, but there are like 13 of them. You guys had a lot of. Let me share these. I don't want to stop, and we're already invested in this, and I want to. And the markets are open, so we can see what they are. And this is from I don't know if they're still on Robert NTSK Net Scope Class A, and you can see we're open here, and we opened right back up on resistance, and that's we're below resistance right now. The 9 is heading down, the 20 is heading down. You really got to get above that 9 and see it roll up. We did come down, we hit support, but here's resistance. So I'd wait on this one. You had a nice trend up and it broke that trend. Okay, and you can see we've had that before. You're kind of in a what we'd call a bear flag. You're down, here's your pull, you go up, and I'd expect it to come back down on this one particularly. MNTN, I'll try to get through these. MNTN Class A, and this is just a classic between support and resistance. I mean, here we go back: support, resistance, support, resistance, support, resistance, and now we're heading back down to the support area. So again, I don't see much rolling on this. The oscillators aren't working very well. We're below the 20, the 9, which is diving, and also the 50, and the oscillators are heading down. So nothing I'd be interested in on a trade on that one. Zeta, ZETA, blah, blah, blah. Oh, see, here's another one. Come right back down, right to a resistance level. It tried to come down. Here we are, down, up again, a classic kind of a bear flag pattern. It can go up, and normally, probability-wise, these head back down, but your 9's coming down. Doesn't mean you can't get past it, but you've had a nice run up, and then down we go, but right back up to resistance, and the oscillators aren't looking all that well right now. And you tried to break through this morning. You can see we opened above, and down we go on that one. Okay, that was from Robert. Bill wanted to look at Intuit. INTU. Hopefully you guys are still in. The only thing I like about Intuit is we've kind of hit some support level. I want to see if this 9 comes down and starts rolling. I want to see these oscillators turn around, which they haven't yet. Okay, and then that's potential. This could ride this a support level for quite a while, or it could break down. So right now, it's just a dependence. Would I want to put anything in there? No, it doesn't really meet my trading guidelines. I want it above the 9. I want to see these moving averages moving up, and I want to see these oscillators move up. But it's something I'd watch right now and Intuit. But again, software has been getting killed, so just remember that, because software, is still under the scarce eye of AI coming in and programming people like Trent go in there and make his own Intuit program. And more, I wanted to look at GRRR, so GRR. Gorilla Technology. I don't know. Is this that Gorilla Tape and stuff? Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, what a nice run up. You look, you have a process. It gets above the 9 and the 200. You ride up, but this probably wasn't here at that point. Now it's here because we've come back down on Gorilla. And again, right above, open up above resistance, and we're right on it. So I'd want to see this 9 roll back around and these oscillators work before I'd get back in. But it had a nice run up if you were in that. Again, hopefully took a little profit out of that.
It's actually engages in intelligence, Internet of Things, security, edge AI data, analytics.
Oh, okay.
So it's not tape or glue.
Okay. So, okay. I'm glad you said that, because that's all I would have thought is Gorilla Glue. Netflix, Julie. I'm still waiting on Netflix. It's still right here on this level of support resistance. We're underneath it. The 9's come down, Julie, and we haven't really got to the intermediate support level. We're still trending down. If we can get above that 9, get that swing back up, we might be able to see Netflix finally head back up. Can this level of support hold? Well, it didn't over here, and then it came back. But again, since the earnings, it's just been downhill for Netflix. But it's one to watch for sure. And then she wanted to look at PSLV. And I was in this one. I made 40% on this one back in the day when we were looking at it. So today we're seeing silver kind of pop. and along with gold and Bitcoin and all that, because we got above the 9 and we got above the 200. So this could be a level where you get in. There's your 20 where it's having trouble getting by. And your next level is up here, basically where the 50 is, 24.29. You're at 22.71. So at least you got 4 days heading up, and you're starting to see the oscillators turn. So with the good news out there, and silver seems to be back in, you could run it up to 24.29, but you got to get past that 20, which is kind of hurting right now. But yeah, maybe. I mean, we've come back to this level. We've drawn under it, and now we're back up. But just watch today, because today is to me, an anomaly day with the war being over allegedly, and we don't really have a war that's over. We don't even have a document that's signed. All we have is a tweet. Judy wanted app 11. And app 11 had a nice run right up to resistance. You see, it used to be support, and then it turned into resistance, and that's exactly where we went up, hit, down, 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 below the 200. Nice pop up today, right to the 20. We got to get past the 20. Need that 9 to roll around a little bit. Need the oscillators to turn around, and then get above that 200. You get above the 200, we might make another run at it. But we did make it here, and right to resistance, and down we went on app 11. And again, more of these software kind of stocks. They're just, out of favor, but at some point they'll come back in. And then Angelo wanted CEG. I believe this is an energy company. Yeah, Constellation. Okay, and again, another one. Here we had example. We came down to support, got back up above the 9, and had a nice run up to the 200. Did the same thing over here, run up to the 200. So we're back on support. We're above the 9. I like to see that 9 roll a little. I want to see this MACD crossover. Again, we're 1 day in the morning within our 45 minutes of rodeo time on markets, and see where these come out. But I would wait and see, but you got some room to run if this turns around. And again, we've gone between this level and the 200, and 200 is definitely a level of resistance. And then right here, you have intermediate resistance on there. So one to watch for sure. And BITO. The ITO, so Bitcoin should be up today. Yeah, Bitcoin rolled up. Here's your 9. Your next level resistance is 20. 20 is at 931. We're at 902 right now. And then you've got hard level resistance at 972. So you got some upside, but you've got a few resistance levels, and your downside would be right back down to where the 9 is at 862 on a trade. But again, you see we've been sideways. We tried to roll up. But at least the pattern is moving up a little bit on your chart. And TLSI. Oh, and I'll say this one's nice. We've come along. We've hit support. It came down a lot after earnings. Hit support, went sideways, got above the 9, got above the 20. Now we're above the 50 today. So it's a nice run. Your next level, if it continues to run, of course, you're outside the Bollinger, is $4.50. You're at $4 right now. So basically 50 cents to the upside. Your downside now is if it can hold the 50 or the Bollinger Band here, which is rolling up. Also, the oscillators look nice. So maybe some room on that one to gain a couple points there. And then OXO, I think OXO or OXC. Did I write it down wrong?
QXO.
Okay, QXO. All right, I didn't put the Q in. QXO. I think this is a Kerry stock.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So here is QXO. Oh, look at that. Well, at least we've come down. We've hit a support level. We've got above the 9. We got above the support level. We got above the 20. Your Bollinger Bands are starting to move up. So again, you're within the Bollinger Bands, and your next level of resistance will be hard level. Will be right here at 1876. Your downside will be the 20. Okay, so there you go. And I think that's it, Trent. Whew. This is the longest. This now is the record for the longest morning meeting we've had, I believe.
It is.
Yeah. And nothing wrong with that. I enjoy you guys coming in the morning because I have to go out and spray weeds. I'd rather be here than spraying weeds.
Really appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Angelo. Thank you all. Just, I don't know who follows the Tell Sheet 12. Tomorrow is its first anniversary. It's done okay.
Wow, that's been a long time. Wow.
Yeah. only made a handful of trades in it this year. We're up 215%.
Can't beat that with a stick.
Nope. And it's 12 companies. And
Nice.
we've made, I think, I've made 2 or 3 changes in it. It's not much, but I'll go over that tomorrow a little bit and see how
Awesome.
it ends today. Just a different approach on how to do this, how to cut the cake. All right, we'll wrap it
Sometime this week we'll have to go over our choices because we're almost at half a year now.
Yeah,
that we
I
all
will
put in. Yeah.
I'll see. I'll make a note to bring that up. And because I think there was a glitch in it or something, but I'll take a look at it. Thank you all again. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place. See you. Live loud.
And live loud. Peace.
Peace.
See you,
See you later, Mark.
Bye.